And I want to welcome everybody into the Fifth Dimension podcast. We are live on the air here on YouTube. Whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening back later on, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. Before we jump into it, if you're a fan of the show, be sure to press that subscribe button, give us a rating, give us a like, whatever platform you're on. That social interaction is how more people find the show, how we can make this world a little bit of a better place. So I greatly appreciate you guys doing that. And also head on over to evanmcdermott.org and sign up for the mailing list so you never miss a podcast. You can learn about some of the great offers that we have going on over there. So, let's jump into this podcast right now. There's a lot of perceived chaos manifesting in the collective level right now. And as they say, these are the times that try men's souls. You know, ultimately, the powers that be, this cult, this elite group of people, they want us divided because they fear us united. That's really what it comes down to right now. And, today's January 6th. And there's all this news coming out about the storming of the Capitol and oh, there's a coup and this and that and this and that, and everybody is really getting caught up in circumventing uh, this whole process and viewing this whole thing from a very emotionally charged, a very hysterical lens. Nobody is actually looking as to what it is that's taking place and trying to approach it from a place of mindful awareness, from conscious awareness, right? There's really a doubling down on the fear narrative of the fear porn that is so prevalent within our society today. And it's funny, everybody claims to despise the social media and big tech companies and they despise the news and but yet they let these entities control their vibration. They let these entities get sucked into these events, if you will, right? Now, it's what's happening on January 6th in the United States with this uh, event in DC. Is it news? Certainly it's news. Yeah, it's worth following and worth keeping tabs on, but we have to look at it from a place of mindful awareness. We need to control our own vibration. Now, I'm coming into this podcast. I'm feeling light. I'm feeling good. Overall, I really think that there's so much abundance and prosperity that's available for everybody. So, we really need to look at the current events of the world from us. We need to take a step back. We need to be mindful. We can't feed into the fear propaganda. It's abundantly clear the media wants you to approach these things scattered and scared and looking to find blame upon another person. This whole orchestrated series of events is really divide and rule. As I said at the very beginning of the show, my opening line, they want us divided because they fear us united. Now, I've talked a lot about on this podcast sort of the agenda that is taking place. We have the Great Reset. We have this dark winter. And maybe we need to question, are we entering into the stage of dark winter? And for those who don't know where that term actually is coined, originally Dark Winter was a Air Force simulation for a bio weapons attack. In 2001, they held something called Operation Dark Winter. And repeatedly, Joe Biden in particular has used this phrase dark winter, dark winter. We're going to get another wave of coronavirus. By the way, on my Great Reset podcast, I mentioned there was going to be a second strain, and sure enough, we have it. Um, but I feel we are entering into the elitists, what they call a dark winter. And we've all seen it coming. I've known this was coming. And how do we combat this? How do we decide that we are not going to engage in the fear? How do we decide that we're not going to take part in this agenda? And it's quite simple. It's by controlling your vibration. How much time have you taken for yourself today to sit back, to meditate, to observe, to reflect, and just to simply understand Are you questioning everything that you're seeing, or are you taking it in from a place of emotion? Are you taking it in from a place of uh, judgment, right? I mean, we all have been taught to make judgments against people, against certain groups, and that is taking place rapidly online right now. You go on Twitter, that is a cesspool of judgment because people are, you know, typing and tweeting about the insurrection and oh my goodness, they're taking over the world. But that's not necessarily the case now, is it? Every single person who is at the rally is there for their own reasons. The majority of it is peaceful. And what we need right now is we need peace. We need love. And the only way we're going to be able to find that is when we find it, we choose to find it within ourselves. And the first thing we have to do is really become mindful of what are our own fears. Ultimately, these entities in the media and these uh, people who are attempting to divide us have done a wonderful job of manipulating the public through fear. They exploit the shadows because we're too afraid to look within the shadows. So that is where they operate. Now, when you can get a grasp on what it is that you're afraid of and actually face it, no longer will that fear own you. Now, there are certain fears that I have. Everybody has fears, certain fears that I have, certain concerns that I have about the direction in which we're going, and certain policies and certain things that are going on that, if I'm not in a place of mindful awareness, they can take over in terms of fear and put me in a place where I'm not acting from mindful awareness, where I'm not acting rationally. A perfect example is the idea of, let's say, a mandated vaccine, right? I'm very weary about potential mandated vaccine, but I've gotten to the point where I recognize, am I acting out of fear that this is going to happen? Or am I acting out of acceptance that I am calm, cool, and collected within my own being, and I don't need to uh, be in a hysteria about what's happening? Because ultimately, when you boil down to it at the end of the day, most fears are driven from the fear of uncertainty, right? Uh, I mean, that's a perfect example of what I just gave in terms of a mandated vaccine. We don't know if that's going to happen. It hasn't happened. So why am I in a fear of it, right? And the fear of uncertainty can really be traced to a fear of death. What is greater uncertainty than death? So allow yourself to analyze the concept of death. What does death mean to you? Are you afraid to die? Do you have a positive or negative relationship with death, and why might that be? Everybody is going to die, but I'm also a firm believer that no soul dies before their time is up. So, with that in mind, if we go into the world connected to our purpose, connected to what it is that we're supposed to, you know, do or just be, not even do, we're just connected to who we are on an individual level, there is really nothing to fear but fear itself. We're bringing up back that old quote now, aren't I? Uh, I'm a history major. I know a few quotes up my sleeve. I'll tell you that. Um, so there really is no fear. Now, there's a lot of people also who are labeling this sort of time as the death of democracy, and I'm fairly certain. I'm not fairly certain, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like the Insurrection Act or martial law being enacted. That very well could be just part of the plan to, again, continue to divide and conquer. I mean, when you have people divided amongst one another, it is and people are warring against one another. Perfect example is, earlier tribes, and I can't think of one in particular, but let's say ancient Rome, for example, they would go in and they would take out different tribes, right? If all of these tribes had been united, then the Romans would have said, "Oh shit, we got a problem here. This isn't going to be an easy war." Because all of these tribes would, be in conflict with one another, it was a cakewalk. They walked all over them. That's really what's happening within the world right now because we become so attached to different perceived parts of our identity. We become so attached to who it is that we think we are, whether it be our Something as simple as our name or our nationality or our race or our sexuality, all of these silly identity attachments, which really mean nothing in terms of the true nature of who we are. We've really been, a perfect example is politics. We've really been pitted against one another to align ourselves with the identity attachment and then view others who fall outside of it as an enemy. And because we are in this operating mindset as a collective, these predatorial elite, really call them the reptilians if you want to go into that theory, they're coming in and they're kind of taking over, if you will. They're really enforcing an agenda, and there are certain people in their state of fear, in their state of victimhood, see this almost as a rescue. We all want that hero to come and rescue us from the darkness. And, we're the princess in the castle. Where is our prince to come and save the day from the chaos and the dragons that are manifesting? That does not exist. As long as you are not connected to as long as you are not connected with who it is that you really are, you will always be in a perpetual state of internal chaos because you're not willing to face your own demons. There is nobody that can rescue you but you. And you don't even need rescue. You just need reconnection to source, reconnection to nature, reconnection to who it is that you really are. Because this society, which ultimately is a myth, the culture we are placing ourselves is a myth, it's a construct. It does not have your best interests in mind. It is here to divide and rule and conquer. You know, man needs no ruler but oneself. Nature knows no kings. If you go to any pack of animals, is there a king? Did they create a society and place illusionary hierarchies amongst one another and create this egotistical status competition? No, it's just nonsense. It's an illusion that we use to try and uh, build up our egos because that is what we have been taught since birth with our conditioning. So I really believe we are entering in to on this point of the agenda. We're entering into this dark winter. We're entering into this point where there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear being pushed, whether it be of a civil war or a cyber attack or the coronavirus or the third wave and a new strain and all of this garbage. And even on the other side, where they're talking about the mandated vaccines and they're talking about the FEMA camps and all of this, right? Either way, if you are attaching yourself to any of the ideas on any side of it, you are in a place of fear. We cannot attach ourselves to any of it. Any of it. We have to let it all go. We have to be willing to simply be in a place of love, in a place of heart centered consciousness, and understand that we are all one. We are all one humanity. And as long as we are connected to our purpose, connected to what it is we're supposed to do, I said it again, connected to who we're supposed to be. How about that? Because there isn't even necessarily anything to do. What everybody's going to do is going to be unique to them. Then that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I mean, ask yourself, is just being here, is that not enough? Is choosing to fill yourself up with love, is choosing to fill yourself up with abundance, the radiance of abundance, is that not enough? I mean, I tend to think that's enough. Personally, I tend to think that's enough. And that's why I'm finding myself in a better place than I've ever been. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm enjoying. I have great relationships with people. There's no real internal conflicts, and therefore I'm not affected by the perceived external conflict. I'm mindful of it, and I keep my eyes open and aware, all three of them, and I just be. It's It's really simple when you get down to it. How we avoid getting trapped in the darkness of the fear that is being presented. There are so many different rabbit holes I could go down right now about China and, the Democratic Party and the Great Reset and Building Back Better and, different arrests and the censorship. And, they just took down President Trump's Twitter account. And there's so many different things that I'm mindful about that I keep in my conscious awareness, but I don't let it control my vibration. You see the difference? We can pay attention to these things and we should pay attention to these things and we really should know what's going on, but we can't let it control our vibration. You can't stoop to the levels of what these people want you to be, otherwise, they are winning the game, right? And there really is no game unless you choose to play in it, right? Just choosing to play in it, once you choose to play in it, there is no winning. There's just losing for us because these people, these elite, have an agenda and they want to control human perception. They want to control human consciousness, and you can't stoop to that. You can't do it. Okay. So use this time to find balance within yourself, temperance, calm, serenity. Within all of us, there is a stillness, there is a tranquility, a peace that we have access to at any time. And when we choose to access that, that is when we are in our natural state of being, right? This is what we need to tap into if we're going to create the new earth. I truly believe the new earth, the one of interconnectivity, love, abundance, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. The reason so much of this darkness is in the visible light of so many people is because there's so much light shining on the planet, right? Darkness cannot be revealed without light. So the light workers of the world, the star seeds, the people who have incarnated here to help usher in this awakening. This is why they call it the Great Awakening. The people who are here to do that, keep shining your light, keep staying true to your vibration, keep staying true to who it is that you are. And that is going to be what brings about global healing, global love, interconnectivity. It's very easy to get caught in the dark visions, the anguish, the fear propaganda that they want to instill in you. And that includes, I even catch myself in it. When the whole thing kicked off today, January 6th, I was looking at it. I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. And I felt the emotions that were coming from specific posts and people in the news. And I'm like, this isn't for me. I'm not going to put my energy into that too much. So stay mindful. Stay mindful. Stay grounded in your conscious awareness and understands that whatever happens, happens. Almost all of this is out of our control in terms of what is happening at the highest level. All we can do to work to change the world is change ourselves first. And then through our conscious actions, not irrational actions, not hysterical actions, conscious actions, we can go about and create a greater reality. That's how it's done, people. And that's the approach that we need to take. There is abundance like never before that is available to every single person on this earth. Most people have just chosen to not claim it. It's right there, it's right in front of your faces. How do you claim it? By going inward and recognizing the steps that you need to take to claim it on the individual level, and then how you can bring that to others as well. So, be in your radiance, be in your light, be in your love, and recognize that you can make a difference here and now. I promise you that. Whew, so that was a little bit of a micro dose of a podcast, I guess, right? I don't have too much more other than that. Just stay true to you. Don't give in to the fear. The fear is there. It's pushed. You just can't give into it. United we stand, divided we fall. One humanity, we will come together. All periods of transformation start with what is perceived chaos and darkness. But we are powering through that. There is no need for fear. If you're a fan of the show, press subscribe, give us a like, rating, whatever platform you're on. And yeah, head on over to evanmcdermott.org, see some of the great programs we got over there. Sign up for the email list. That's going to wrap up this episode, wrap up this live stream. Thanks for y'all who are tuned in to the live stream. And I'll see you next time.